Please
There
do.
he is.
What do you have to do?
Please do side by side.
Satya Prabhu, you can just choose to make spotlight, Maharaj. Right click and spotlight.
Pin, I have added pin, Prabhu. That is okay.
There we go. Okay. Okay. Looks like we're ready to go, yes? No, we have 1 minute to go. Okay. There's a barking dog. Anything can be done about the barking dog? I think I can begin, yes? Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschachade Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We have a nice topic. The nice topic is accountability in spiritual life. So this afternoon, because over here it's evening and over there it's morning, so this afternoon, I spent some time going through Folio to see where are the references under the term accountability. And I found there are three main categories of sources. Very little was Prabhupada using that term. Abundant were Vyasa Puja offerings using that term accountability. And then those that are authors, ISKCON authors, writing about spiritual leadership or transcendental leadership, qualities of leaders, accountability was pretty strong also. There was a very nice reference. I'm going to give some examples. There's a very nice reference in Harisori Prabhu's biography of his time serving as Srila Prabhupada's personal servant. And in the reference, Prabhupada he was supposed to have a car ready for Srila Prabhupada to take Prabhupada to visit a member in India. And that service was given to him while while Hari Sori was performing some massage for Srila Prabhupada. And he made a mistake. He delegated that responsibility to Jagadish, who was the GBC. Well, there were two persons with Prabhupada regularly, his servant and his secretary. Secretary was a rotational position. Different GBC members would become the secretary for a month, and Hari Sori would stay on as his personal servant. So the servant was given the service of having a car ready when it was time for Prabhupada to go, while he was giving massage. And Hari Sori delegated that to a GBC member, Jagadish, and he assumed Jagadish would be responsible and have the car ready when it was time to go. The car wasn't ready. And Prabhupada, to train his servant, he became angry. Of course, the transcendental anger, the example was sometimes given that Prabhupada would pull the sword out, brandish the sword, say some heavy things, and then the sword would disappear and there was no mention of it ever again. But Prabhupada was angry and saying really angry things like, "You're a rascal." And Hari Sori said in his book that I knew better than to say, well, you make an excuse. I didn't follow up on what you asked me to do because he had seen that happen before, and that just made Prabhupada more angry. So he writes, I buttoned my lip. And the lesson is, when you're given some service to do by an authority, in this case it was his spiritual master, but being trained by Prabhupada to be responsible, when you're given some responsibility, you're assigned some responsibility and you accept it, you can't delegate the responsibility to someone else. Or then comes some other rules about delegation. When you delegate, you don't abdicate. So this is under the topic of accountability in devotional service. So in devotional service, some service is accepted by you or assigned to you by some authority, and you're accountable to that person who assigned that service to fulfill the service. And you can delegate, but you can't abdicate. That it means if you delegate, then you see to it till the task is completed, that the task is completed. That's accountability. And when you give some service to someone, then something else that you give with them is the authority to carry out the service and the resources they need to carry out the service. There's many, many, many applications of this principle, but it's a principle of accountability in devotional service. Now that's an example where Srila Prabhupada directly was training Hari Sori how to be responsible. Now, it's not that Hari Sori would then turn around later on, he'll become a GBC member, and then he would deal with the person under him exactly the same way that Prabhupada dealt with him. You rascal, that kind of chastisement is not, or language of chastisement is not responsible. What the principle is to be understood. There's a nice example of this, and that is I took some notes. I'm going to do some cheating here and look at my notes. Yeah. There are, in all circumstances of life, there are persons who are above us, persons to whom we are accountable. And it should always be like that. There's never a point in time where we're not accountable. So that's the topic of accountability in devotional service. So when we're accountable, there's someone above us. And to that someone above us, supposing we meet an obstacle in carrying out something that has been asked of us, and there's some assumption that it's been asked, and therefore it's acknowledged, it's now my service to do. If there's some obstacle, then I'm to deal with that obstacle. And if I find myself unable to remove the obstacle, I go to the person who I'm accountable to and seek some suggestions of dealing with the obstacle. But I can't, just because there's an obstacle, close my eyes and don't report back. And when it's time for the service to be executed, oh, I didn't report it back because there was an obstacle. There was something standing in the way, and the thing was asked of me I couldn't do, and so it didn't get done. And Hari Bol Prabhu, that's not on our topic of accountability in devotional service. When we are requesting others, so we have some responsibility. And then I may ask someone or direct someone, depending upon the relationship and the circumstance, can you please take care of this? Like Srila Prabhupada was, asking Hari Sori to take care of something that needed to be done for their service, have a car ready or something. So ultimately, we're responsible unto Krishna. We can say Guru and Krishna as a representative of Krishna as Guru. So we're responsible to Guru and Krishna. And if we're delegating responsibility to others, it's my responsibility. So I haven't abdicated it, but I then am responsible when asking others to do, to make sure they have the resources to do. And the person who's accepted that responsibility to request the resources if there's inadequate resources to do some particular service. The ultimate purpose of all of our lives in our devotional service is very simple. Krishna is to be pleased. We want Krishna to smile. And Krishna will smile if and when there's a sincerity on the part of the servant to please Krishna, and supposing some obstacle comes in between us, the servant, and the task requested of us, we're not to be punished because the task was unfulfilled, but we go back to the place where the service was issued and indicate the obstacle that we're finding, the roadblock that seems to be making it difficult, for me at least, to see my way on the other side of this roadblock. There's a nice teaching in Hari Bhakti Vilas along the same line, and that is if the spiritual master is responsible for the sins of the disciple, that is, when a spiritual master accepts someone as their initiated disciple, they're accepting their sinful reactions. Similarly, the husband accepts the responsibility for the behaviors of wife, and the king accepts the responsibility or faults of their counselors, or those their underlings, those who are serving the king. And so there's accountability for everyone that takes some kind of leadership role to accept the responsibility for those that you're giving leadership to. So one solution is don't take responsibility. Be a carefree, cavalier person. That's not ideal. Ideal is to be responsible. And with responsibility comes accountability. And by acting in a responsible and accountable manner, there's some equity or some trust that develops between the person who has accepted that responsibility and the person who is doing the service of that responsibility. And between the two, then a binding relationship of trust develops. And accountability is the giver of trust. I'm accountable to all of you who are attending this class. And someone who is in a leadership position, they're accountable to those who they're giving leadership to. Satyavrata is accountable to all of you, and you're accountable to him. And some service is assigned by Satyavrata to you, or you accept some service from Satyavrata, then it's good. Act in a responsible and careful way to fulfill that responsibility. And then when that one is done, likely there'll be 3 or 4 others. And then after that, there's likely to be 10 others. And this advancing in human life is a life of responsibility. There's a phenomena that goes on in the world. There's a lack of transparency. That is, supposing someone doesn't want some misconduct to be known by others. I've got a tendency to something, and I don't want others to know about that something tendency. So I try to conceal the something tendency. That's not good. Be transparent. And the lack of that transparency leads to increasing those desires or tendencies that are separate from Krishna's interest and Krishna's desires. So be accountable and be transparent. That accountability leads to, when it is in place, we're accountable not just to the immediate person who you are serving. That's true. But then it goes up and up and up and up and up. Higher authorities and previous acharyas and great realized souls, and we can draw strength, courage, example, wisdom, etc. from all those higher personalities, and we're accountable to all of those higher personalities. It's not like this is not a message of you'll be spanked if you don't do everything perfectly, but there's a relationship where mercy is flowing down, and the attitude of looking up and seeking that downflow of mercy and the power to carry out something that it takes a responsible person. It may take something beyond what I think my capacity is, but somehow I'm being asked to do this particular thing. So I'm looking to superior authorities to be accountable to those superior authorities and get the mercy from those superior authorities and have standards of what that accountability looks like, what the proper execution of some particular service looks like. This is the principle of it's a descending authority system or descending mercy system, descending empowerment system. Ultimately, all of these things, because there's intermediaries, and ultimately there's the accountability to Krishna. And, in each step and at the end of the day, we would like to know that Krishna will smile or Krishna is smiling because, after all, he's the witness. He is situated in the heart, not only our heart, but every living entity, not only every living entity, every atom and in all of creation, he's the witness, Upadrashta. And we want him to smile. We want that happiness of the ultimate source of everything to be pleased. That's bhakti. And we can know that ultimate source of everything is pleased by the intermediaries in between. So each of us, we have persons who we're serving. And they may be persons who we're serving that are in hierarchy or in rank or in social position. They may be above us. They may be below us. We're serving the persons that are socially or hierarchically not above us, but we're serving them also. It's a transcendental conception, but that's what we're doing. And what we want is to be accountable ultimately to the Supreme Person. So the accountability in devotional service is very wide. So a very wide road and includes many personalities and many factors. And that's the way it should be. Ultimately, one more time, ultimately Krishna is to be pleased. So we have our standards given to us in scriptures, particularly Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or the standards of clarifying what bhakti is and how to do our devotional activity in such a way that Krishna will be pleased. And in that consideration that Krishna will be pleased, there are intermediaries that satisfying, bringing happiness and pleasure to those intermediaries' consciousness that's pleasing to Krishna. And Krishna will smile. So I thought that a nice way to take this topic is to speak the points that I just made. And I anticipate there'll be questions or what about this and what about that, circumstantial types of considerations. In general, the question answer session is the richest part anyways. So Satyavrata, you selected the topic. I assume you select, you did a survey and came up with that nice topic. And others will have something to say, but we'll call upon, if you want, you can add something or raise a question, however you'd like to proceed.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. in many of the purports of Srila Prabhupada, we know that Prabhupada writes, devotional service is best practiced under the guidelines of a bona fide spiritual master. So, as you spoke, I have been thinking about how important it is to remain accountable to one's spiritual master. And in this class also you have brought out so many beautiful insight, like how we should be transparent, how should be responsible, how it build a relationship of trust, and how it requires courage, faith, and respect, and how descending mercy flows upon us when we are accountable. So we are very grateful to Guru Maharaj. So my question is here now, we have a small group where we are trying to practice devotional service. It happens sometimes that many devotees, they want to be accountable, but they have a sincere desire, but somehow or other they are put into some obstacles, some difficulties, which they are not able to open their heart. So in those circumstances, from both sides, from the leader side and from the devotee side, how they can come to a point where they can express their heart. One of the discussion point I would like to request you to speak about.
Well, it's the question is important, but the answer is very simple. Each of us needs persons who we look up to, and those persons who we look up to may be identified with different names or labels, but person who we look up to, and with confidence in that relationship, we can open our heart and share whatever needs to be shared, and trust in the person who is being approached in that way needs to be with an open heart, that is not judging or condemning or condoning, but with empathy, helping the person know that you have understood what their circumstance is, and then that trustworthy person needs to be trustworthy, rather than direction giving that may be the right response, but asking questions to have the person try to discover the solution themselves. A good teacher, a good parent will not just that in circumstances will instruct, but help the dependent to understand how wise instructions are reached, or how wise behaviors are reached. How do you get there? So it depends on the skill of the person who is being approached, the one who you have confidence in, that they're neutral, they're confidential, they're wise, and you're seeking, I perceive an obstacle. Maybe it isn't really an obstacle, but that's what I'm perceiving, and I'm kind of stuck. Can you help me see my way to get unstuck so I can move forward? So a relationship with such a person or persons, and depending upon circumstance, there may be different persons who you go to. You go to those persons that you're looking up to, and you seek some guidance. How to take the next step. Do I turn left or right or go sideways, or do I pause, or what should I do? And then be ready to listen carefully and then carry out what advice is given. And if the person who's hearing you give this presentation, they want you to find the solution yourself, but they're willing to guide you to come to that proper solution. That's an ideal teacher. So different teachers have different styles and capacities, and they have a different understanding of what that person who's coming to them is able to do and not able to do. So find such persons. Different terminologies within ISKCON circles have different names, but someone who's nice as a village elder. You go to the village elder and say, Prabhu, here's my circumstance. Can you help me? Do you have any recommendation for me? So the open-heartedness, and with the right person who's a village elder or a qualified person, your guide, your teacher, your well-wisher, senior well-wisher, something. Seek guidance when you feel you're stuck.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Sadhu Sangananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. I'm understanding that this accountability is attracting the descending mercy and empowering us to execute the instruction. And most of the things that you told, that it pleases Guru and Krishna. It brings a smile on their face. So Maharaj, my doubt is that many times happens that there are frequent relapses, like something in which I'm struggling very frequently. So I need to report all those things to my authority, or what is the difference between shamelessness and the humility, Maharaj? Shamelessly I can report everything that my frequent relapses, or I should be selective. In what way I should proceed, Maharaj?
Okay, can you remove your hand up? You got your hand showing, covering your face, actually. Okay. Questions like this, it depends. What to do depends. And most likely, it's not the best thing that every single thing is brought to some authority. It may be a little bit of a nuisance for the authority that everything, like, they haven't volunteered for the position of being super soul, that they know everything in your every thought and every blink of your eye and so how to if you come to the point where you see there's a tendency, that is to say, as you indicated, something that comes again, you try to isolate what that tendency is and then discuss the behavior or the how it appears, and your sense is this tendency, and then you're seeking guidance on how to do your service minus that obstacle, the tendency obstacle, how to overcome a tendency that seems to be interfering with the type of service that I feel is important and is needed. And if there's questions, or you can embellish, for example, but it's not, I wouldn't recommend everything, but rather, with your intelligence, a little summary evaluation of a tendency with perhaps some examples to illustrate, and then you're seeking guidance. Any advice for me or any instruction for me how to go forward? given this tendency, obstacle tendency. If you may have a particular something in your mind, and I think you can be called upon to say what that something is that's in your mind. If it's a general question, then I think I've addressed the general question. Somebody else?
Thank you, Maharaj. It was general purpose.
The question from Amani Radha Mataji. What are the inner signs and shifts in consciousness that reveal Lord Krishna is pleased and smiling upon a sadhaka?
The devotees will let you know. Don't worry about that. Now, most important is those who are your spiritual authorities, not necessarily exclusively your spiritual master, but those who you are accountable to in your service and your life, your family members that, generally within families, people are not unwilling to let you know if you've displeased them. And you take those indications, according to the circumstance, and you then seek you introspect and seek improvement and seek guidance, how to go beyond something that seems to be an obstacle. And don't do too many at a time, a few things, one or two things at a time. Because there's a long road to go back home, back to Godhead. So it's going to take, purity is a journey. So be ready for the journey, and step by step take guidance to move forward.
One question from Gaurnaran Prabhu. What practical habits help maintain consistency in devotional service during difficult time or obstacles? How should I respond when I fail to keep a devotional vow or commitment?
Well, we all know there are 5 most potent, most important activities out of all the devotional possibilities of service. 64 items, and 5 are most important. And generally, each of us has one or more of those 5 that are particularly sources of strength. And you continue to do as nicely as you can any one of those or some combination of those that give you purity and strength, because purity is the force. So stay with those things that are strength giving and purity giving, foundations in your life, even when there's some obstacle and some difficulty. And same principle. You rely upon Krishna, and at the same time you look to those who are above you, those who are your superiors, seniors in age or in wisdom or in spiritual advancement, and you seek their assistance or their guidance or their help. So there's something there's, in other words, it's 2 things: effort and mercy. Sincere effort, especially where we know that from experience, there's strength and purity that come from this effort activity, and at the same time appealing for mercy, ultimately from Krishna and from representatives of Krishna at different levels of the hierarchy of spiritual stature. Effort and mercy.
Pavan Sarwar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and your lotus feet, divine lotus feet. Guru Maharaj, very encouraging class, giving so many inspiration. I understand that transparency and offering workable solution, Krishna conscious solution,
Transparency and what's the other word?
offering workable Krishna conscious solution
Okay.
builds trust and accountability in a natural
Yes.
way. Now, as a member in a spiritual family, what is my contribution to bring out accountability as a nature, as a simple nature in people?
His voice was breaking up a bit. I didn't get everything. Okay, someone, you want to repeat it, or Satyavrata, you want to repeat the essence of his question?
Prabhu's question is that as a member of the spiritual family, what is his responsibility to bring this accountability in the community?
Well, by your own example. You can't bring it about just by waving a magic wand, but you show by example, you understand what accountability is, and you live by that principle as much as you can. And by doing so, then you're part of you help to build a community that is the kind of community that you want to be part of. You know, be the example of that which you wish others to be like. So by example. And don't whine and complain if it doesn't match your expectations. But your own purity and your accountability will help establish a group's purity and accountability. You're part of a group. Set an example of that which you understand would be pleasing to Guru and Krishna, and you do that.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
This is a question from Ajita Mataji. How can we overcome Maya in the mind? It becomes very difficult to control. How it does from Maya means.
Oh, you take a Maya antidote pill, and Maya will go away. No, you cultivate bhakti. Rather than, it's a principle, rather than combating the unwanted, you strive for the wanted. Or more you go towards the light, the less there will be darkness. So look towards the light, tamasi ma jyotir gama. Jyotir gama. Focus on the jyoti. And as you move towards jyoti, then towards light, or that which is proper conduct and proper behavior and proper speech, and then that which is unwanted will dissipate naturally. That's a bhakti principle. And we live our lives by bhakti principles, don't we?
Udayananda Prabhu, please. Please unmute Udayananda Prabhu.
He's unmuted. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept our humble obeisances at your lotus feet. Guru Maharaj, so I was thinking on accountability. So accountability is to all those seniors or authorities from whom we receive mercy. Is that the understanding, Guru Maharaj?
Yes. And
And
then wait. And your head can spin because where does it, is there a limit? That was this message of previous acharyas. We're accountable to our previous acharyas. We've inherited wealth from our previous acharyas, and that we're accountable to them for that wealth that we receive. The wealth is wisdom and teachings, and keeping ourselves strong and fit, and in a position of wellness for our spiritual practices. So we're accountable to them as well as to those who are more proximate. It's not that those that are more proximate are less important, or the ones that are more remote are more important. It's we're accountability is healthy. So the question that I understand you're asking is, to whom are we to feel ourselves accountable? The proximate and the distant, both. The predecessor acharyas, our founder acharya, and the acharyas prior to him, and keep going and on up to Krishna. We're accountable to Krishna. He is the witness of everything. We're accountable.
thank you very much.
You have more. You want to say something further?
Guru Maharaj, uh, but our spiritual practices, or what we are doing and what we are not able to do, we report to one spiritual authority.
Yeah.
So reporting is to one authority, but accountability is to all from whom we have received this wealth.
Well, I answered that question. The accountability goes to everyone. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda and the Panchatattva were accountable because Lord Chaitanya gave teachings, and he gave teachings how to make those teachings effective and pure and so forth. So, and then there's those that represent him, and the six Goswamis and Madhavendra Puri, and the list goes on. So we're accountable. But it's not that multiple accountability is not to make your head spin. It's a principle of light, and you look towards the light where there's light has come into and is coming into your life, and you're grateful. You're feeling grateful for that wisdom or direction in your life, and you're accountable to those personalities, those sources of that light. And they will smile, and their mercy will come to you because you're trying to please. There's the immediate, your spiritual master, or those you are immediately serving in your sangha, and if they're it goes up and comes back down again. There's this chain, and when you're so now you're in your little Bhakti Vriksha group, and you have a Bhakti Vriksha group leader, and you have members in your Bhakti Vriksha group, and the ultimately your pleasing Krishna will be pleasing to them. If you're pleasing Krishna, it's pleasing to them. And to the degree that you're able to be devoted to Krishna, genuinely, factually, your immediate associates and the person, your group leader, and etc. So it's a big spiritual family. Not only the little group or your own biological family that you're part of. It's a much bigger circle or network. And we're to please. How are you going to go around and please everyone? You please Krishna and you please everyone. So act in such a way that you know what the scripture says, but is pleasing to Krishna, and as best you can, sincerely, you try to please Krishna. And people will be, those who are properly aligned with Krishna will be pleased. Even you're less than perfect, we're all less than perfect. It's a principle, descending mercy principle. So it goes up and it goes down.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. Thank you so much for the session, Guru Maharaj, and thank you, Satya Prabhu, also for taking time out in attending this. Guru Maharaj, I have a simple question. So, when the way we are accountable to our leaders, we have a small Bhakti Vriksha group, Maharaj, and some devotees in the group, they go extra. Then at times I feel that they are burning so much of efforts, and then they go.
They do what? The voice is breaking.
Maharaj, am I audible, Maharaj?
You're audible, but your voice was breaking, so try again.
Good, Maharaj. So the way we try to be accountable to our leaders, we have a small Bhakti Vriksha Maharaj in Hyderabad, and some devotees try to go more, put more efforts, and at times I feel that they are burning down, right? So how do we actually help them maintain the right balance while they serve Krishna and Bhakti Vriksha group, Maharaj? Some devotees really, really go extra and they kind of burn their health also, Maharaj.
Well, if you're, depends on your relationship with that person. If the relationship is right, you can, in a private way, and with your arm around their shoulder, you can say, Prabhu, how's it going? And something, you say what you need to say respectfully. And if you don't have that relationship, then you may say in a not critical way, but in a helpful service way, someone that does have that kind of relationship, maybe they're a better spokesperson to speak to this individual that seems to be burning themselves out. So, your heart, and then there's your head. The head means with intelligence, you speak that which is from the heart. And, be very careful, because it's real easy to disturb people. It's not so easy to have people feel encouraged. But so in a way that's intelligent, so people feel encouraged, you try to express what needs to be expressed. Boundaries, please. Your service mode is fantastic. And it seems to me that it puts you in a, you have to say, so it takes intelligence and compassion. It takes a heart and it takes a head. How to address. And different persons are different relationships are different. That you have that concern, fantastic. That someone is maybe burning themselves out, that's not fantastic. So now how to socially act in such a way that your intention and is received well by the other person and is effective. So it's relationships, and build relationships that are trustworthy. When you say something, you mean it and you do it, and you're consistent internally. You're not coming from a place that's just controlling or critical or something. You make sure that your integrity is in shape, and then you carry your message with intelligence, with the head and the heart in the right place.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, we are conducting Rath Yatra today. Please bless us, Maharaj.
This is a question from Rakesh Roshan Prabhu. How free will and accountability are related?
How free will and accountability are related. kind of obvious. Accountability is how others see you and how you see others, especially superiors. But as we discussed, accountability can also be, supposing I'm a family man and I have some children, then I'm accountable to my children, not just my children are accountable to me. So in group dynamics, we're accountable to one another, and ultimately Krishna is the chief, the supreme personality. And we make our best effort. This accountability principle is Krishna should be pleased. That's bhakti, Krishna bhakti. And with the confidence that when in fact Krishna is pleased, others will be pleased. So it's just live your life accordingly. And the moment to moment decisions that we're making, the words that we're speaking, the way that we're speaking them, and so forth, Krishna should be pleased within our capacity, knowing that we're less than perfect and we only have so much flexibility, but as much as we can, the intention that Krishna should be pleased. And we'll find out if Krishna is not pleased. Somebody will let us know. Excuse me, Prabhu, you're stepping on my foot and it hurts. So please don't step on my foot. So if we get some feedback about whether we're pleasing Krishna or not, we should be responsive.
This is a question from Chandan Prabhu. When I report my preaching activity to my spiritual mentor, I feel that I am glorifying myself, and if I am lacking somewhere, then the inferior complexity is coming in the heart. And both the things are stopping me to open my heart. Whereas, please guide me how to overcome these thoughts.
Well, purity is the solution, and purity has a price. The price is striving to make the heart more clean. That is the same bhakti principle. Krishna is to be pleased. So don't make your decisions what to say or not say, how to say it or not say it, based upon, I'm at the center, but that Krishna is to be pleased. That's what pleasing to Krishna. Let your speech and conduct be such that you're mindful that Krishna is to be pleased. And that's Krishna Bhakti. And as you cultivate Krishna Bhakti, Krishna will be pleased. And you'll be less misunderstood. Dhruva Priya.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances at your divine lotus feet. My question is that I'm very grateful for your class on this topic of accountability. I'm really struggling in this part of accountability.
Really?
Yeah, I understand that as you've cleared this, that lack of transparency, because we don't want others to know about, means something what I'm trying to hide. Means to the persons whom we have to be accountable, we should have trust. We have trust. Still, there is a lacking of transparency that they whatever regard they have for us, we may lose that, and later we may not be able to maintain that relationship. Means there is some fear of losing that relationship.
I got it.
So, correction. That is my question. So, how we can avoid this?
Well, a starting point is for you in your relationship with others, because there are probably others, at least family members, and maybe others besides family members that look to you as their maintainer, their well-wisher, their best friend, and so forth and so on. So it starts with what's in your heart and how you interact with those who are very close to you already, and you have some authority relationship in the, how they feel and so forth. So you act in the right way towards others, and that will be a good lesson how the other question you're asking will become possible. That is, um, how how to establish a transparent relationship with a person who is your authority or mentor or guide or well-wisher. And it can be even more of a peer, but someone who isn't going to be judgmental, and you feel confidence in that non-judgmentalness, and then you can say what needs to be said. Confident, so that this takes some your own discrimination. Who is trustworthy? And when you say something in confidence, it stays confidential. There's some things that you don't mind if they share it with others, however, but someone who's confidential and they're wise and they're trustworthy. So that's the going up part. There's the going down part. Be that example in your life towards others who are looking up to you, depending upon the circumstance of those relationships, and be trustworthy. And then same, and the ones that you look up to, those that have that capacity, and that capacity be pure or transparent, or without judgment, knowing perhaps you have to do a little road testing to make sure that you're not going in an area that's going to send some panic to them, unless you're like heading off a cliff or off the road or into the ditch or something, and they may then speak strongly, but otherwise they're not going to be judgmental. They'll guide. So be like that with others, and then find others that can be like that with you. So it may take some time to find those relationships, but you need those relationships so you can be transparent. At least with a certain person or a set of persons that are confidential and trustworthy. Find that person or those persons, not just you keep secrets, but they're confidential at the same time. And they'll preserve that confidentiality and guide you in such a way that you make wise decisions instead of the ones that you're embarrassed about.
Yes, thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
It's relationships.
This is a question from Kalindi that she's asking that she is doing her spiritual practices. Is it that if she is not accountable to anyone, is it that she cannot make any progress in her spiritual life? And sometimes she has a desire to express her heart, but she is not able to do that.
Well, inconsistency is one thing, and even where there's inconsistency, why there can't be accountability. In other words, I'm Kalindi, or I'm a certain devotee X, and it's a little bit the question that was asked before. Do I have to share everything? No, but at least I'm struggling. Here's a standard that I know is ideal for me, ideal for everyone, and I'm able to do half of it, and I'm inconsistent with the other half of it. So That's accountability where I'm not going to be judged. I am who I am, and the person is accepting that I am who I am, and they're continuing to help me grow. So find such relationships. And, same with this other question. Don't be judgmental when other persons share with you their shortcomings. Be understanding and encourage them. And same, find relationships that are like that in your life. They're not judging you because you're inconsistent or something. And then in that safe zone, you continue to grow little by little, however long, that's how long, duration of time, and continue to grow. Strive, whatever your position is, to continue to grow. It's like plants. Some plants grow very quickly, and some plants take a long time. So they're the rate of growth of one plant or another plant or one person or another person may be different. That's okay.
Guru Maharaj, is it not that when we don't develop accountability, internally we are cultivating an independent mentality?
I couldn't catch the question. Try it again. There's someone's knocking on my door. Try again.
Question is that if we are not developing accountability, then is it not that we are developing some independent mentality in our heart?
Yeah. Well, it may be. It probably is, but it's not a given. That's one of in this review of this topic, maintaining a position where I'm not accountable and I'm keeping some things private. It's a breeding ground for those things that are some things being kept private, that the garden of privacy starts to grow and the lack of accountability starts to grow. So try to minimize and find a place where you don't have to worry being judged or being called names or something. Transparency and accountability help prevent that tendency that you just mentioned, some unwanted desires and tendencies growing in like, weeds in a garden.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. And this is one question is from Guru Swami Prabhu. I seek your guidance on a weakness I have noticed in myself. Whenever I accept a service, I sincerely want to complete it. But if I am unable to fulfill it due to obstacles, instead of being transparent and seeking guidance, I feel guilty and hesitate to approach the devotee who entrusted me with the service. I feel this reflects a lack of accountability and I want to overcome
Yes.
tendency.
Yeah, it does. And also, the relationship of the person that gave you the service, and now you're feeling some obstacle and I can't fulfill it. You go back to the person. And that is to say, when some service is given to you, the person who's giving the service should give the resources and the competence to do that service. So supposing, back to the situation you're speaking, I see an obstacle and I don't see a way to overcome that obstacle. You go back to the person that gave you the service rather than be embarrassed. I need some help. I want to do this service. I value you and I value the service. And there's an obstacle that's, at least to me, seems formidable. And I need some guidance here, maybe some additional resource so I can take care of the service that you wanted, because I want to do that service. So it's a relationship again. And the person that's giving that service, they have some trust in you, Otherwise, they wouldn't have given. So you have some trust in them. And I'm a little bit concerned about time. We're going to take another question or two, and then we're going to wrap up.
This is a question from Sulasana Mataji. Sometimes I am accountable to the service and to the member, to the mentor. But while doing the service, I am forgetting the purpose of the service or to please whom I am doing. Like that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
results, especially in book distribution service. Please guide me.
Okay. Book distribution service is a natural one for this kind of question because it's fruitive. I mean, one can become fruitive and be more concerned with the fruit than the purpose. So the recommendation I'm making is when you start a service, keep the purpose of the service in the foreground and the person for whom you're doing this in the foreground. Otherwise, the fruitive passion tendency will quickly take over, and both the purpose and the person are gone. And it's just, the fruitive mentality. Passion has a way of obscuring both purpose and the persons. So cultivate as far as possible. The antidote is cultivate mindfulness. And when you're doing, it's like japa. Here's a good place to practice this particular point. When you're chanting japa, what's the purpose? And if you don't ask the purpose, then likely you're going to be fruitive and forget the purpose. And therefore, you're not getting the full benefit of the japa because the mindfulness just went out the window. So practice, I recommend, practice mindfulness. Here's a challenge. Hear the sound vibration with undivided attention. And when you do that, the mind becomes conquered. This is Bhaktisiddhanta's teaching. Ear conquers the mind. Ear conquers the mind. So if you're hearing, try tomorrow morning or next time you're doing your japa. Hear with undivided attention. That's your assignment. And that's the what, and then there's the why, so that Krishna will be pleased. You're hearing his name and you're attentive to him because it's his name and he's not different than his name. So practice attentiveness in hearing and you'll become more proficient in not only book distribution, but life, being mindful of why you're doing what you're doing. The purpose as pleasing Krishna. I want to call it a day, if that's all right.
Thank
There
you.
may be other hands. There may be other people that want to ask something, and I think I have to move on.
We are extremely grateful to you, Guru Maharaj, for your valuable time and giving us session. This is the most important topic in our spiritual life, and we have got a very clear idea that how to be accountable to the disciplic succession. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, we'll see you again next time. We'll figure out a time where we can do this again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept our humble obeisances at the lotus.
I will.
Hare Krishna, Guru.
Hare Krishna. I think we got some clarity about accountability. Very important point. Guru Maharaj mentioned during his class that when we are accountable to descending disciplic succession. When we are accountable to disciplic succession, then the descending mercy flows in our life. Very important statement. So, anybody wants to share? We have some 10 minutes, one point. Pawan Sarwar